Bitcoin news on Twitter. 3+ simple methods to monitor. Twitter is full of opinions. Let's find some facts. Keep track of Bitcoin news on Twitter by using Twitter alerts. We've all found various ways to tune into what's happening with Bitcoin and the greater blockchain ecosystem. There are some serious funnels for updates, opinions and partnerships. The eco-space is wild, has its ups and downs, but we can eliminate a ton of that noise from the get-go if we are simply trying to focus on Bitcoin. Fun fact, the actual Twitter account at Bitcoin is actually run by the Bitcoin Cash folks. Never confuse the two. I won't waste a ton of time trying to illustrate the ways in which they are different. If you know, then you know already. If you don't, then all you really need to know right now is that they are not the same thing. If this seems confusing, then at least you know you have some homework to do. Google the New York Agreement, or tweet Roger Ver, @RogerVer, to find out more. Maybe ask why the tweet below is pinned to the top of the @Bitcoin Twitter profile. What is Bitcoin Cash? A peer-to-peer electronic cash system pick. For now, we want to focus on Bitcoin alone, in its original inception. We want to identify the thought leaders and evangelists who worked side by side with the development community to get us from the Genesis block to where we are today. In many cases, those people were one and the same. Today in 2019, we have an absolute mess of regulatory news from the SEC, including ETF decisions and guidelines on how new projects should behave. We have the custodial platforms like Coinbase and Gemini pumping out their own curated Bitcoin news on Twitter feeds, as well as entities like CNBC Kinda Just, doing their best. It's okay. It's not any of their faults. It was always going to look like this. This is how we move forward, together. How do we monitor all of this Bitcoin news on Twitter? Keeping track is not always easy. I use Twilert, a low-cost monitoring service with tons of applications. Adaptable monitoring is really key when I know I'm going to be busy, out of town, or just plain tired of scrolling through Twitter feeds. Regardless of your particular use case, I'll make a short list below that applies to Bitcoin, more specifically who precisely I trust to keep me abreast of the real obstacles to mass adoption, or at least a short sampling of them. There's no right or wrong way to do this right now, all I can show you is my way, at least as it pertains to this protocol. We can get into ERC20s and DAGs next time. Some of these chaps wear suits. Some of these chaps get asked to speak or go on podcasts a lot. I'll leave you with this: be wary of the suits, be wary of the guys who pay for coverage, and above all, be wary of anyone who can't convince developers that it's worth it to drop what they're doing and come work on their project. Not so complicated after all. For now anyways, here's a short list of my follows and their relevant alerts. See you on the moon. Andreas Antonopoulos, @Antonop. Andreas wrote both The Internet of Money and Mastering Bitcoin. If you're interested in this space and don't already have a copy of The Internet of Money, do yourself a favor and go grab one. For Andreas, my alerts are mostly set so notify me of two major things. First, anytime he tweets something that includes the words explainer, Q&A or PDF, because I know in those instances he is referencing something specific I can use to digest a bit more, whether it is a link or a download. Pretty cool, right? Second layer is a really compelling facet of how this whole thing might look in the future. Elizabeth Stark is leading the pack on a lot of it, or at least helping carry the torch, so to speak. I tag her alerts for #GitHub and SDK just so I know when something is likely to reference a new advancement. Lately though, it was hard to miss her since she literally exchanged BTC with the CEO of Twitter. Nick Szabo At Nick Sabo 4, I'm looking at Sabo for anything that reads SEC privacy UN or USD. He's had his eyes and hands on the wheel for a while, even if he can be a tad bit staunch in his opinions. Twilert even allows me to input an operator that says but not nutrition if, for example, I no longer want his feed to be source of dietary advice as well. Head on over. Give Twilert a try. Find out how to get the results you need from Bitcoin news on Twitter, automatically.